Hey, I'm Steve Freeman. I'm here with Mark Simpson,
Hey.
Real Broker. We are so excited today to introduce Derek White with Up Equity. It's a new partnership that we're entering into with them. This the buy before you sell. Derek, I can't tell you, it's a solution that I've been looking for years. You and I have worked together on a different side of Up Equity. This is a new rollout for the company. So, why don't you just take a minute and kind of unfold that? Let us know what it looks like. From this point forward.
Yep, sounds good. Thanks, Steve. So, as Steve said, my name's Derek White. I work for a company called Up Equity. We have a buy before you sell program. You'll also refer to as trade up. So the idea with this program is for the client who has a home that they need to sell prior to purchasing a new home. This program will enable that client to be much more competitive with the offer that they make on a new home. And the way we do that is by eliminating the need for a home sale contingency to be included with that offer. The way it works is for clients who are qualified, we set up a safety net. From the time that the client, so the client's going to ultimately leverage this program to get under contract.
Correct. Right. So we're going to go in there and we're going to make an offer on a house that's going to be not contingent on the sale of their house through you.
Yep, that's correct. And so once they're under contract, that time frame between contract signing and closing, if you're not able to find them a third-party buyer to come in and not only get under contract, but actually purchase their existing home prior to that new home purchase closing date, then what Up Equity does is a day or two prior to that new home closing date, Up Equity will step in and actually purchase the client's existing home in order to free them up to make the new home purchase. So if we do it that route, then the client's home will actually sell twice. Correct. It's going to sell to Up Equity the first time at a below market price that will be established and disclosed on the front end of the process. So we buy it a day or two later, the client purchases the new home, they move in, and then with the home that they're leaving, that they're selling that second time, the agent continues to list that property to be sold a second time at full market value. So here's where we're different than an iBuyer. An iBuyer, as you know, if it's going to be Open Door or whoever, Mark Spain, your client's going to leave 10 to 15% of their equity on the table, not to be recovered.
Correct. Right.
Through our program, between the two sales of the client's existing home, they will ultimately arrive at full market value. They will receive net proceeds from both of those sales.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so in your transaction, there's a small convenience fee that's there. And you're also, and you actually said something kind of that struck a chord with me. When you said the 10 to 15% is not to be recovered, it actually will be by the iBuyer.
Yeah.
So the iBuyer is actually making the 10 to 15% of the money that should have been the homeowner's money for a quick, easy solution. Yeah. This, we're taking a small convenience fee out, very minor, and then they keep the lion's share of it. So the first closing, though, because it is like a two-step closing process. That's the way I explained it as well. The first closing is a percentage of the overall fair market value, correct?
Right. And there's no set percentage where we come in every time. Right. We analyze each property independently. We analyze, the market that property is in from a micro and a macro perspective. And based on that information, that's where we will determine what that initial price will be. So ideally, that initial price is going to be enough to pay off any existing mortgages so that that client does not have to qualify for two mortgage payments on that buy side.
Correct.
So we'll pay off the mortgage and they'll be able to tap into enough of the equity in their existing home to use for down payment on that new home. And so that we can get that transaction completed through the initial price that we buy it for. And then to your point on that second sale, right, where you say that, the iBuyer is the one who gets that additional equity that the client is leaving behind. We don't share in the upside of that second sale. So if we're anticipating a $450,000 final price that property is going to sell for, and it ends up selling for $470,000,
right,
that's $20,000 more in the client's pocket. We do not share on the upside. As you said, that small convenience fee that we charge, it's fixed, so it's set every time. So your client, the market is favorable for them and they sell their house for more than they thought, which in this market certainly is a possibility. That extra money, that extra price is all theirs.
So I'm sorry. So so in setting the price, I know that we've done this a couple of times. So it's kind of a symbiotic relationship between us and you, where we look at the market, we give our input, you have your internal appraiser that looks at it to make sure that we're all on the same page so that we're not skewing the numbers falsely.
We're working hand in hand with the agent as far as putting together that initial proposal and painting the full picture. So we're going to paint the picture of what it looks like from that first sale of their home to up equity and what kind of proceeds they're going to walk away with. And then we're going to show them, okay, this is based on what we think that your house can sell for. This is what it's going to look like. But in the agreement between up equity and the client, it clearly states that the upside, whatever that property sells for, is the client's. It's not ours. And another important part is once we buy the home and it's on the market to sell that second time, even though we're the owner of record, the agreement between the client and up equity states that the client is in control of that second listing, that full market value listing. So the client will determine who that property sells to, for how much it sells for, and when, not up equity.
Right. I think that's important. And just taking a step back, the first sale, typically what sort of period are we looking at? How long can that take?
From the time I call you to the time that we can go to a closing table.
Good question. So we're going to have a proposal for you or for the client within 24 hours of you submitting the information that we need, which is very minimal. From there, if the client decides they want to move forward and they sign that buy before you sell agreement, we need 21 days from that point before we would be in a position to buy their home. There's a lot of due diligence that goes on behind the scenes, getting title work in line. If there's an HOA, got to work with their HOA company, let them understand what's going on. But from contract signing to closing, we need 21 days to do what we have to do.
And one of the other things that you do is you do an inspection on it because you are the owner of record. So that is
the idea behind the inspection is because if we are going to at some point purchase that home, we need to know that there's nothing major wrong with the home, and we don't care about cosmetic stuff. We're not going to nitpick it. We're looking for major foundation, structural, roof issues seem to be a hot button issue. It's rare that we would require repairs to be done before we bought the property, but we've got to get that home inspection done because if those issues are present, we have to be able to uncover them and deal with them.
Right. And that's the way I explain it, is like the second closing is where the meat's on the hook.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to get your ultimate equity back out of the house.
Yeah.
You and I have talked about, so if let's just say that, for example, they're going to make a big windfall of 50 to 75, maybe $100,000 on that second sale, that they can then do, and I'll let you explain it, a recast of their mortgage.
Yeah. So that's a good point. So a client may be going into selling their home with the idea, okay, I'm going to put $100,000 down on the new home. I'm going to use that equity from my sale, put $100,000 down. So a lot of times with our scenario, maybe they can only access $70,000 in the beginning. So they can put that 70 grand, take that 70 grand and use it to make the new home purchase transaction happen. And then once they sell their home the second final time, let's say they're walking away with another 50,000. So that second round of net proceeds is 50,000. They can take 30,000 of that or all of it and apply it to the principal balance on that new mortgage they got for that new home purchase.
Correct.
And then at that point, they contact their loan servicer and request a recast, RECAST. It's not a refinance, it's a recast. Costs a couple $100. Refinance costs much more. But the recast will lower the principal and interest portion of the monthly payment to reflect the new lower principal balance.
Correct.
Also, if your client has to get mortgage insurance initially with their mortgage, then the recast can also remove mortgage insurance, provided that with the new additional amount towards the principal that they're now under 80% loan to value, then they can get rid of that as well.
Correct. And that's so important to know too, when we talk about recasting and not refinancing, this does not change the terms of the loan. The loan terms stay as far as like interest rates, the timeline, that does not change. We're changing the principal amount and what's paid back through principal and interest.
Yeah, a refinance changes the terms of the loan.
Correct.
A recast only adjusts the principal and interest portion of the payment to reflect the new lower principal balance.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. So just for my understanding, so I have a home. I want to buy something else. We engage.
Yes.
They buy the house within 21 days.
Yes.
Right. The owners still have rights,
correct,
to some degree,
per the contract
per
that
the
they have
contract,
with equity.
And so they would only be able to put in an offer in that home after the 21 days, because then in effect they are really,
they could do an offer now.
Yeah.
Okay. You do an offer now because they're already the solution.
right. So we're not saying in the future that they're going to have to sell the house. They've already got a buyer
They've
for the house.
already got equity's the buyer now.
They've got the closing.
So that's the non-contingent. So if you think about this, so
Right.
These are the two scenarios. Like you're able to go in there, maybe get a little bit off the price. I mean, this is a weird market right now.
Yeah.
But I guarantee if you go in with the contingency, you're probably going to pay what they're asking.
Mhm.
If you're non-contingent, you maybe have some leverage, right?
Right.
So no leverage with the contingency. If you do that and you buy, good, you win a few percentages there. Probably covers the convenience fee, to be real honest.
Yeah.
Then if you're out of your house, right, and you go to the new one,
Mhm.
and you're empty and staged, and they can just come in and out when they need to show, you
Right.
probably will maybe even
Sell
sell
it for a little
more.
Right.
So now this is just a win-win situation for the consumer to be able to go to the new house, take the loan obligation off of this one so they're not contingent, and then go, and then now they don't have to worry. Also, this is another problem about being homeless. I sell my house, there's not enough inventory on the market, I can't find where I'm going. This takes care of that. I go find that house first.
Yeah.
Then I'm out.
And so I've been selling this program for a year and a half in Georgia, and I can tell you from talking directly to homeowners, the number one quote that I get from the homeowner is just what you said. Is there a scenario that could play out where I'm homeless?
Yes.
Is my sell going to be ready, but my buy's not, or vice versa? They're worried about a two-move scenario, having to live with their in-laws, having to get temporary housing, having to pay for two movers.
Right.
The cost and stress of all that probably causes some home buyers or homeowners to just be off the market and say, forget it, I'm not going to mess with it. This program will help get them off the sidelines and into the market, and we're going to create transactions where there otherwise wouldn't be.
I've got 4 dogs. I don't really, but I've got 4 dogs, and not somebody wants to come to see my house. What am I going to, or 4 cats? What am I going to do with my animals?
Yeah.
Right. So this also gets rid of that. Doesn't put stress on the cats, doesn't put stress on the family. It gives you the ability to move from here to here at a very easy pace at a very minimum cost.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
That's 100% right. And the homeowner is not put in a position, if they're trying to coordinate these two closings on their own, there's a good chance that they might have to take a lowball offer for that home they're selling, because that's what they have to do in order to facilitate these two transactions on their own. That's not necessary with our program. Our program is going to afford that client to be able to accept the offer that they want to accept, rather than putting them in a position where they have to take an offer that they think they need to take in order to make these two transactions work.
And this is where Up Equity, I feel like, has made a monumental change in that now they are the purchaser of the house.
Yep.
Before, when we did business, a year or so, just so anybody's ever I've exposed to this, you used to have to be the lender as well, but now you use whatever lender you want in the transaction. You are just the facilitator of the buy part.
Yeah, we're only focused on the client's existing home. We're not involved in the buy side at all. That's a decision that was made, and a good decision, because we're focused on where our demand was, quite frankly. And that was behind this buy before you sell program. It wasn't behind the mortgage end of arm of what we offered. So we're focused 100% on what we're good at, and that's dealing with the existing home. And realtors love it, and consumers love it, because they can use the loan officer that they want to use, rather than.
Correct. Right. And I mean, we just had this solution this week. I mean, the clients are so happy because they would have never got the other house that they wanted had we not had this in place.
Yeah.
They were contingent, and the seller did not want to take the contingent offer.
Yeah.
So, and it was a multiple offer situation, by the way. And when we presented this, it was accepted. They were in the house they're in. They're so happy. Let's talk about this too, because this is a big deal as well. There is a hold cost that's associated with it after the purchase of the house, that when you purchase it, that there is a cost of that. But let's talk about how it's kind of paid back.
Yeah. So there are carrying costs that are involved with this transaction. The idea behind the carrying costs are, as Up Equity's capital is tied up in the client's home, there's a cost to us, a cost of capital to us. We pass this cost off to the client in the form of carrying costs. So the key to know about the carrying cost is, if the client were able to buy a new home without selling their existing home, and they were able to do that on their own without us, they would be incurring carrying costs in that scenario. Odds are that the home that they are selling has a mortgage tied to it. They're going to be making that mortgage payment every month until that property sells. They also have homeowners insurance, taxes, HOA, a lot of times on the home that they're selling. All of that they're going to continue to pay until they sell that home. The difference with our carrying costs are, while they accrue monthly, your client does not pay them monthly. So it does not negatively affect your client's monthly household budget. Instead, when the property sells that second final time, then we net out any applicable costs from that transaction, and what's left over is what the client has access to in the form of that second round of net proceeds.
Correct. So let's just say, for example, they held on to it for a couple of months, and these are the carry costs change no matter what, because it's based on the price. But let's just throw $2,000 out. There's $2,000. They were going to net at closing $50. So in essence, they're going to get a check for $48, because you're going to take the $2,000 out at closing from their proceeds that they would be getting otherwise. But they're not writing a check out of their account every single month.
They're not. And you're correct. In addition to that, along with that initial price that Up Equity is going to buy their home, the carrying cost calculation is disclosed on the front end in that initial proposal that you're going to get back within 24 hours. So we're laying all our cards on the table. The client can evaluate the proposal, and they'll see what the initial price is going to be. They'll see what the carrying costs are going to be, and then they can make a decision from there if it works for them.
So I suppose why wouldn't a potential client that's wanting to sell and buy not consider this?
Yeah, I mean it's really almost a no-brainer.
Yeah. What are the types of objections that you've perhaps received in the marketplace to this program? Have you?
Well, I don't receive many objections from agents, to be honest with you, but the objections with the clients come from the client maybe not understanding this market and thinking, you know what, I don't think I have to pay that cost. I think I could probably get this home sold doing it the traditional way, and somebody's going to eventually accept my my contingent filled offer. And you and I know that just doesn't happen very often.
That's what if there's anything, it's like I'm trying to get every penny of equity I can out of my house.
Yeah.
So therefore I need to not use the program so that I can do it. Here's some of the realities though. Let's just say, for example, it cost you, $5,000 to get the loan. I'm just throwing numbers out.
Right.
It might be, who knows? But if you have to pay $10,000 more for the house, it's a wash.
Yeah.
It's a pure wash.
Yeah, but let's not forget the fact that if they do that, they may be stuck in that home and lose out on the home that they really want to buy.
That's correct.
Because that's the whole thing. When you go out to the market and you want to buy a house, you want to buy that house.
Right.
You don't want to, because that house is not going to be around for 90 more days. It's going to be sold.
Well,
so
you look at the market that we're in now, we got 29 houses available.
Right.
So your odds of being able to sit around for 30, 60, 90 days waiting on.
Well, we have 1 month supply.
Yeah, you're that odds are very low.
So I have a lot of clients who are initially a no, and then they come back around 2 or 3 months later and understand better the market and the need, or that getting rid of that home sale contingency is not a luxury; it's a necessity.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And it just creates so much freedom. It relieves a lot of the stress of the whole process without leaving 10, 15, 20% of your equity into an iBuyer's pocket.
Yeah.
The iBuyers are not doing this because they like you.
No.
They're doing it to make the money.
Right. They're doing it because they see a deal.
That's correct.
Yeah, of course.
And look, it's fine. Everybody, no business stays in business without making money.
Yeah.
It's got to happen.
Yeah, but
however, you don't want somebody doing it on your back when we have this avenue that's there that lets you keep the vast majority of your equity. We're talking we're talking 97% or so, and they're keeping.
Right.
So,
as opposed to giving up 5 or 10 to 15% through an iBuyer.
Correct. And this facilitates it so well. That you have the freedom of using your own lender. You have the freedom of moving when you want to. It's just for me, I think it's the golden ticket.
Yeah, well, I love hearing you say that. I agree.
Well, we just did it, so it worked out. And we've done it in the past, but the new scenario that we've got set up, and then we go back to if we have a house that needs the repairs, we've also got Curbio.
Right,
that we're in
Curbio that we can use.
We've really created a world-class solution for our seller clients that need to sell in order to go buy. It's just, I think we've created a platform together that solves every problem you could have.
Right.
Yeah. I agree. I love this program. It's fantastic. I've been selling it for 1.5 years in Georgia. It's just getting the word out. Things like this, like what we're doing right now, will definitely help. But it's sometimes it's hard to get the word out. That's what we're trying to do.
It is, and it's a mind shift too, right? So this is not something that's been prevalent in the market. We've seen iBuyers. We haven't seen this.
Well, I think to your point, that's maybe also another reason why people are suspicious.
Yeah.
Because of the experiences, and I think right in the introduction you mentioned a couple of names and people. They're coming in and say, yeah, we'll buy a house but in actual fact it's 20% below market value, and people feel desperate and think it's a good deal, but it's actually not. And that's the experience that maybe many have had, and it hasn't been a pleasant one.
So
Yeah, I agree 100%.
and I got to tell you, man, I'm so excited because I'm excited for our clients.
Yeah.
I'm not excited. I'm excited for us because it's a solution, but it gives our clients such a leg up on being able to meet their goals, to be able to get to the house that they want, to be able to get the money out of the house that they need, without feeling so desperate that they've got to, like you said, take an offer that they wouldn't have normally taken.
Right.
I just have a look at the home that we recently procured. That home was in the market for 5 months.
Right.
5 months. So they were carrying those holding fees. They were paying.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
For 5 months.
Well, Derek, I can't thank you enough. Do you have any kind of parting words for us? Any pitches?
No, I mean, I just think it's about education, right? Educating the agents and educating the clients as to where we are different than maybe the experiences that they've had in the past, and sitting down and showing them that, the people, just like you said, who stands to win from this is the client. Again, we don't share in the upside. So this is a hot market. So if a client, again, if they think they're going to sell their house for 350, but they sell it for 370, that extra 30 is their money. Like it's the upside's with the client. It's not with you, and it's not with Up Equity.
Correct. Right. So I will say this. So if you're an agent and you want to know more information about this, you're welcome to call Derek. You're welcome to call me. I've had a phenomenal experience with it. We will continue to move forward. If you're a consumer, you're a seller, reach out to me. I'm happy to talk you through this and walk you through the whole process and show you. I'm objective. I'll show you the good and the bad. It's not, there are costs associated with it, right? But I'll show you why maybe that doesn't make sense, or maybe we do what everybody else has done. Try to sell it traditionally. If it works, great. It's not. We're not going to push anything down your throat. However, we've got a solution. Mm-hmm. We have a phenomenal solution at this point. So, Derek, I want to thank you for your time and meeting with me. Our relationship has been phenomenal over the last year or so. So I'm excited to see where this is going with us as well.
Yeah, me too. I appreciate it, Steve and Mark. Thank you guys for having me on today.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, Derek. Thank you very much. Oh, shit. Oh, he popped out. Yeah.